Hello and welcome back to Tales of the Grim on this fine Sunday. I hope you're all having a wonderful weekend. Welcome back to Skychasers, our Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. Delve into 1950s Americana, alien hunting, conspiracies, and more, where we walk the line between truth, lies, and trust. Before we get into today's game, I would like to let you all know that we are super grateful for you hitting that retweet button and letting people know that we are live and shouting out about this game over on the Twitter sphere, in the YouTube comments if you're not watching live, and over on the Tales from the Grim Discord. I would also like to let you know that you can interact with today's game using a few options below, as well as keeping an eye out for viewer polls, which will be triggered by hitting certain donation goals. I think that's a fair way of describing that. We will be rejoining our cast in Muddy, Illinois shortly. Today, unfortunately, Virginia and Susie are away. Virginia has been very busy at UK Games Expo, and Susie is away on holiday, having a well-earned break from the madness and the grind. Of course, we look forward to them joining us again. And I think with that said, we shall join the cast back in Muddy, a small town with a road that runs through it. They'd been sent here, just one file in a big box of files that they needed to solve. A storm chaser vehicle and a sedan on a stormy road. There was a Jane Doe at the sheriff's department. Strange, bright blue eyes. No one knew who she was, where she came from. They thought she'd been hit by a car, and she was bruised. Seemed to make sense. But there were those little things, and those bright blue eyes. The investigations led the team to Florence Eastling, a farmer's wife, who had found the body, and to the missing sheriff's wife, Haley, to Ira Hobbs, the migrant worker, who allegedly would be tumbling off of a train running through town tonight. Cast. I asked you all to consider questions that you may have had as part of your investigation between finding out about when Ira Hobbs' train was coming through and finishing your investigations with Florence Eastling. So we're going to go around. You each get one question, and I will answer it to the best of my abilities for you. So Greg, what is your question?
I believe that one of our main questions, and I hope I didn't jump or step on anybody else, but we wanted to ask the sheriff about the bear traps, about why they were lying in the road, and there seemed to have been a number of them, and I don't know when you kind of lay those in the middle of the road to trap somebody, so just to gauge the response, if it was surprise to him, or if it was something that seemed to be a cover-up, whatever. That's what we wanted to ask.
So last session you found a semi-fused man trap, bear trap, just up the road from where the body had been found. The trap attempting to eat two of your colleagues' arms. And the sheriff, on hearing your question, doesn't seem surprised here that you found such a device within the town. He seems confused about why it would be where you found it. That doesn't make any sense to him. He would let you know that the mining operation tends to use a lot of them to catch trespassers, and it wouldn't surprise him if farmers had begun using them in fields. There is a number of pests, including deer and the like, which can seriously damage their harvests. Sam, what is your question?
I come clean with you. I don't really know. I've got lots of kind of little theories, and we spoke, well, it's a couple of weeks ago now that we spoke really as a group, but I don't really, I can't really center on something.
Okay, what do you think Robert did then in the gaps? We can fill in that part of the narrative. What did you do for, it was a good 8 hours-ish, I believe, that you had. What do you think you would have done?
See, now, we never unpicked this thing with as we were proceeding towards Mrs. Florence's farmhouse.
Mm-hmm.
On the left, I think it was on like the left-hand side. At least that's what my memory serves. There was this little like, almost like a pathway being carved into the tall corn.
Flattened.
Yeah. See, now the country boy in me just thinks that that's the 2 rows of wheels on the tractor going through. But I wonder if it was something else. I wonder if it was maybe having a poke around it was unusual in any way, or whether it was just farming.
I think at the time we said that it didn't seem unreasonable that it could be a tractor, and there is a tractor on the farm. However, if maybe as you left Florence Eastlings, you took time and paused and you wandered down, it would have stopped somewhere in the middle of the field. And there is no real explanation for that. And I will say that you didn't really get a straight answer about it from Florence. She claimed not to really know anything about it. She isn't. You get the, like, she's scatty-brained, as we already know, but she also doesn't seem to really know very much about farming beyond I go and feed the chickens in the morning, and I walk the dog, and I cook the food. That's kind of her hands-on agricultural knowledge.
Sure. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
And Edelyn.
So Dr. Nash would have taken the opportunity to seek out whoever was most familiar with the migrant community, whether that's an elder in the community or perhaps whoever hires these migrant workers to work in Muddy seasonally. Would you be able to tell me who that might be? And then I can...
Okay, so I imagine that the sheriff probably could have given you some information on this, and it would be a guy called Warren Ellis, who he's a wheeler dealer middleman type who basically goes and picks through the migrants that comes through and says, you're going to go and work on the Eastling farm, you'll work on there, and he does like the negotiations and delivers people in and out. Do you have a specific question for him? You would be able to find
do. Yeah. So with Mr. Ellis, I would present 3 pictures to him and ask if he could identify any of these 3 people. Okay. And the pictures are our current Jane Doe, our 1914 appearing woman who ended up in the mental institution in New York, mm-hmm. and a picture of my former patient, Timothy Miller.
He'll pause and look at them. He looks at the Jane Doe and hovers, and he gives away that he knows this is the body that's laying up at the morgue. But he confesses to you that he doesn't remember meeting her when she was alive. And he claims that he would have remembered a pretty face. And he generally is, like, gives the impression of being real skeezy to you. Mm. And his general demeanor, he doesn't take you super seriously, but he's humoring you.
Okay.
So that's your impression of Mr. Ellis and the answer that
was he able to identify either of the other 2?
He says that he doesn't recognize either of the other 2.
Okay. Thank you.
And with that, we find ourselves as the 11:20 train rolls into Muddy, or rather steams past and straight through, off the back, jumping the form of a man, running, dashing into the fields. You all had sat in the sedan waiting. Maggie had gone with the sheriff, following him on a call out, wanting to investigate Haley, his wife, who apparently is missing, although he doesn't seem too concerned. In the footwell of the sedan, a piece of paper has fallen out of Rhonda's notebook. Dr. Nash, a fastidious note-taker. Edelyn, would you mind telling us what's on that note paper?
Dr. Nash picks up the paper from the ground and reads. When he grabbed the black crayon, his knuckles turned white. There was such intention in his little fist. The force of the crayon against his drawing. That's what I'll remember. How forcefully he was covering up his drawing. Did I see the drawing well enough? Did he see the presumed alien life forms well enough? And then, for just a second, I thought I saw the markings. Oh, be fair, Rhonda. It could have been his skin getting all crinkled under the force of his little grip. Or it could have been the markings. I've seen them on all of them before, that pattern burned hot white. If we revisit, check his hand. Also check his hearing. He exhibited no signs of hearing loss, but his father did. Had his father always had hearing issues? Or was this a result of the alleged sighting?
The doors of the sedan tear open as Captain Robert and Betty burst out in pursuit of Ira Hobbs as he makes his way down into the field and out of sight. At this moment, a blinding flash of lightning tears down from the sky, dazzling, brilliant, and you hear the clank of metal in the dark. Captain Robert, you pursue through the field. It's muddy. It's dense. And you can only know where Ira is because you can hear him. But every time that thunder rumbles in, the ground itself shakes and it reverberates through your chest. And you see that dazzling flash of lightning as the storm is upon you. What do you do?
How far are the flashes and the thunder? 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000.
You are fairly sure the lightning is within a mile of you. It seems nearly instantaneous.
Right, yeah. Okay. So Robert's got his handgun out in front of him. His, I believe, his 911 revolver, not revolver. With a, I don't imagine they're doing the whole like FBI thing over the torch under the gun type thing now. Maybe they are in the 50s. I don't know.
Maybe not a standard procedure, but I imagine it would be a fairly sensible convo that would occur to our Air Force captain.
Yeah.
So if you would like to do that, you're welcome to do that.
Cool. All right. So yeah, he's basically, I think, fairly cautiously running in. So this isn't a sprint. This isn't like a Tom Cruise it. This is a kind of checking side to sides, but rushing through crops, that typical like rushing through the crop field thing, where you get flashes of vision and not being able to see past some of the stalks and stuff, but proceeding as fast as is cautiously able towards Ira.
Okay. And in the dark, you hear that clank, and a shudder runs through you as you think of those jaws, those steel jaws of the trap that had been found by your colleagues down by the road.
This is a second where he pauses, stops in his tracks, looks around, thinks for a second. And I wonder where the sound came from, whether I can tell from where I am.
Make a listen check for me.
Oh, listen. The green one, right?
Yes.
15, hard.
Okay. On a hard success, you are certain it was off to the right and in front of you. And what's more, you can also hear in the dark the heavy breathing of Betty. She's struggling and she's rushing. And you hear also the footsteps and the crashing of the fleeing man. And then the thunder rumbles around you again. Where do you go? What do you do?
So these are three distinct things, right? So there's the crunch is something, Betty struggling is something else.
Betty is behind you and to the left. The crank is to the right and in front of you, and Ira's somewhere nearly dead in front of you. You've managed to try and keep him there. You can't see him though. You just, based on sound.
I will yell to, because she's not here. Maggie hasn't pursued with us. It's me and Betty, right?
Maggie went with the sheriff on a call out. You didn't need 5 people to catch one man, in her opinion.
In her opinion. But so it's me and Betty.
It's you and Betty. You were the two. You instinctively leapt from the car. It wasn't coordinated. You hadn't discussed what happens if he jumps off the back of a speeding train and sprints into a field. It's purely both of your reactions to get straight out and after him. You can't hear Chris or Rhonda anywhere behind you, but they were in the vehicle.
Okay.
And they have been good backup in the past.
Yeah. He will yell behind him, Betty, take my 2 o'clock, and he will keep running towards Ira.
Okay. And as you do, you push through. I need you to make an agility check style thing. If you have anything that relates to reactions, in particular physical ability.
I mean, something like Dex, but
I would almost I would let you roll a dodge check if you'd like this.
Oh,
You're not
man,
exactly avoiding something. We'll use that as I think that's probably the closest.
Okay, fail.
Okay. You are dodging and diving. You're hoping Betty is following those instructions, and you skid into this clearing, into this area of flattened stalks, and you turn as the lightning cracks down. Brilliant, white, searing, painful to look at. And in the briefest of moments before it blinds you completely, you see Betty's face staring at you, eyes wide in horror, and the world goes dark, and you blink, trying to shake the dazzle. And in that space behind your eyes, you can still see the cutout, that silhouette of her figure. You can still see the corn and the dazzle. Back at the vehicle, Rhonda, Chris. Your two colleagues have gone running into the field. You see the lightning crashing down. You hear the thunder rumbling through, but there's very little you can see through the dense vegetation that makes up this crop field.
Chris he would have his ever-present baseball cards out, and nervous, especially with the captain gun, he would turn and kind of fan them out as if he was playing a hand of poker. And as he looks down at them, he would cast an uneasy glance in Rhonda's direction, and then he would put his mouth up against the cards and whisper.
All right. So why don't you make... Rhonda, you can make a listen check if you would like. If you believe that you would be aware enough. And then
Absolutely.
Chris, if you would like to make, I'm assuming a truth roll, or if you'd like to pose your question and then you can evaluate from there.
It's a hard success on Rhonda's listen.
Okay.
Rhonda would hear Chris say, Is it safe out there? And this isn't a roll. This is going to cost me 2 of 2 things. So I'm going to be spending 2 sanity and 2 magic points to see if the Bambino will tell me whether or not my friends are in danger.
Okay. You would like to do that for us?
And you can answer it however you'd like, because this isn't something that has to be. This is coming from somewhere, either inside Chris's head or elsewhere. But truthful, it does not have to be.
Okay. So in the back of your mind, you hear a sports cast. You've listened to this game so many times. You managed to find a record of it so that you can play it over and over. It was a seminal game. It was so important. The bases were loaded. They just needed to make that last run. One last run. Bases are loaded. What do you do? And almost in your head, you can see that batter whirling with his bat, preparing, stooping, adjusting his weight between his feet. In the back of your mind, you see the pitcher crouched low, straightening up, giving the nod. He's seen the call. You see the call, and it's nearly too late. The batter is going to swing, and he is going to miss. Three strikes, and you're out. That's the rule.
They're in trouble. Something's wrong.
Is that what the cards are telling you, Mr. Brubaker?
No, something's wrong. These are just baseball cards. They don't tell me anything. Something's wrong.
All right. Well, do you want to go after them? I'll go with you.
No and yes, no and yes, no and yes. Yeah,
the radio
yeah.
crackles, and there's a high-pitched noise and interfering sound, and then a voice comes through in the darkness.
I refer, of course, to the prophecies of Ezekiel. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself, and a brightness was about it, and out of the midst thereof, as the color amber, out of the midst of the fire. Make no mistake, the whirlwind is coming. Captain Robert saw the fire folding in on itself, and soon you will too, brothers and sisters.
They're in trouble.
I heard. Let's go.
And the preacher on the radio continues as the stand doors are opened by Rhonda and Chris. And out in the night, the lightning rips from the sky straight down in front of Captain Robert. And Betty Thomas disappears. Robert, I would like you to make a sanity check, please. As you have just witnessed your colleague struck by lightning. Okay,
Success.
with that, you will lose 2 points of sanity. As blinking, staring at those cutouts, you see these strange geometric shapes. They're people, but they're drawn out. They're long, dark, and strange. But then your eyes return, your dark vision recovers. It's weak compared to how it had been. And your torch is down in the puddle at your feet, having dropped it as you skidded into this clearing. Behind you, you can hear Chris and Dr. Nash running, pushing through. At least you hope it's them, because there are 2, maybe more people coming up behind you. And somewhere in front, the man is still running. What do you do?
Grab my torch first of all. Look for Betty.
Okay, skidding and shaking, you go to the spot, and I'd like you to make a spot hidden check, please. Chris and Rhonda, if you would like to make dodge checks, we're going to use those for your dex, basically your dex saves to make it across this field in a good speed. Okay. You both struggle. It is dark. You weren't as prepared as Captain Robert with torch in hand. You're having to rely on hearing and squinting into the darkness. And you are muddy. And a couple of times you may slip, feel like your ankle is about to twist. We'll say for now, neither of you come to actual harm, but it's very dangerous out here. And the sky booms with this pool of heavy thunder. And staring at the spot, you see still the water of this puddle boils and froths, so heated, so supercharged. And you see the skid where she had come running into the space. You see the scorch, the black, so hot that this lightning bolt burnt something soaked through. But you see no sign of Betty. She's gone. And I need you to make a dodge check, please.
Me?
Mm-hmm. Nope. The lightning tears down from the sky and arcs through this rainy, puddly earth. And you are gonna take...
Charlie,
Yes.
if Chris is close enough, can he, and I know this puts him in danger too, can he attempt to tackle the captain? Because the cards told him that there was danger, and he would be. If
I will
he
allow
can...
you to make the attempt. Yes.
Okay. What would you like me to roll?
I would take either a dodge or a luck.
I'm going to. Can I roll the luck with the advantage, the last advantage that I have?
Yes.
Okay.
The only thing you can't use advantage on is... Oh, no, you can use it on sanity checks. You can't use luck on them.
That is a critical success. A number 1 out of 100, as the Bambino told him to take home. And he is going to slide headfirst into the captain to get him out of the way if he can.
And you do. And it is a slide that could take you from base to base to base, as you skid across that earth and plow him far into the other side, into the crop. As the lightning tears down at the exact spot he had been standing, you feel the sizzle of it around you. And it's pure luck that keeps it from leaping into and through both of your bodies. Rhonda, you come to this clearing, to the edge of it, just in time to see Chris make this slide, as if he'd known that bolt was coming from the sky. What do you do?
Rhonda stops dead in her tracks as this action is taking place, as best she can. She kind of skids along the mud a bit. And after the bolt strikes, she kind of edges around the circumference of the area there towards the captain and Chris, and wants to check and make sure that they're okay, physically and emotionally. If maybe there's any sort of real quick psychology she can do just to get everyone kind of back to a good place so we can move on.
Okay, you can hurry across and retrieve. I'm imagining the gun went. Such was the collision of this unknown man in the dark leaping out and pushing that. So you can retrieve that and you can catch up with your colleagues, and you're welcome to have that scene as you would like. But the thunder is still rolling around you, so just bear that in mind.
Captain Chris, are you okay?
Get down, get down! And he'll reach up and try to pull the doctor down into the field proper.
I saw what you did there, Chris. That was very impressive work, Captain. Where is Betty?
What?
Captain.
Oh.
You all right? Are you with us?
Yeah. Where is Betty?
Where is Betty? I haven't seen her. Chris, have you seen her?
No, I didn't see her. And he's just staring at the sky. I didn't see her.
Charlie, can I replay? Sorry, just what you said about that second that Betty. What I'm thinking has got taken. So, you said something about long figures, something like that. Sorry, could you go over that for me again?
Yeah, so what you were seeing is, you remember as you came into the clearing, for the briefest of moments, seeing Betty's face, her eyes are wide in horror. You see that flash come down exactly where she is standing, and you are then blinded. And as you're blinking, it's like you can see the inverted image of that area. You can see the shape of Betty, and you can also see these other figures which are distended. They're nearly geometric, like an abstract piece of what a person is. And they're people, but maybe it was just blinking, and you know when you get those dazzle spots and it kind of messes up your vision, that's what you had. And then your vision kind of cleared, and it was just this rainy field and the spot where she had very clearly been.
Where is he? Where's the guy we're after?
I didn't see him.
No, I did not either. We could pursue, but we seem to be missing a member of our team.
Captain will get up and very purposefully say to each of them, "Stay here," and he will just sprint for him.
Okay. So you're gonna need to make me a listen and a dodge check, Chris, and Rhonda, if you would like to respond or interact in any way, you're welcome to do so.
Chris
Dr.
would
Nash.
just. Oh, I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Go ahead. Dr. Nash just screams after Captain Dabrowski. Stays put, but Captain!
Chris would pull out one of his cards and. It's not safe!
What did you need me to roll, Charlie?
So that is a listen and a dodge.
Okay.
Unless you especially have track as a skill, that would be another skill that you could use instead of listen.
No, it's terrible.
Okay.
Okay. Listen. Let's give it a go here now. Oh, yes.
Stream, perfect. Take a breath, center yourself. You can still hear him crunching through the crops, and you take off at a sprint in that direction. And if you can make a dodge check for me.
All right, I want to use my advantage that Hermley gave me last session.
Very wise. This is a dangerous field.
Yeah, thank you, Herm. This is it. I'm gonna get this guy now. No. Oh.
Okay. You could spend 33 points of luck if you would like to make that a success. You could also turn this into a push roll. I'll allow you to kind of double stack this, but it will make it harder. And if you fail, it will be extra bad.
No.
Okay.
No. I'm doing the Tom Cruise, but it's not happening for me.
Yeah.
I will just say, I'm going to interject real quick and just let everybody know that somebody named Dawn donated to make it harder. So
What?
Yes, so that guy.
He's going on the list.
It's going on my list.
Going on my list with a great big gold star next to his name.
Mine too.
There's a certain knightly character he quite likes in another game, I'm sure. I could do horrible, horrible things to.
So you go running, and you hear the crashing of another bolt. Just straight behind you, you feel all of the hair on your neck and your arms. It all stands up despite it being weighed down by the weight of water. It narrowly misses you. You don't see the tractor right in front of you as you barrel headlong into this huge hulking piece of machinery. And you are gonna take 4 points of harm as you smack into this huge piece of steel. And as you lay there knocked prone, staring up at the sky, the water just cascading down in ribbons, a face looms over you. And it twists. And it turns. And you blink as the sky turns bright again. Chris, Rhonda, you hear that snap of lightning, the crackle and roar of the thunder instantly following. You see that bolt. That bolt was yards, feet from you. And in the direction that Captain Dabrowski had run. What do you do?
Chris would move towards that direction. He would get up and start to... But he keeps really low, like he's just thinking of that old adage, the highest point gets the lightning bolt, but he's doubting that even as he just kind of stays low and quickly moves.
Yeah, Rhonda goes as well and doesn't think twice about her height. She just runs towards the captain.
Chris, what do you remember about when the bombs fell? What do you remember about the sound of them? About the feel of them? What do you remember about their nature?
They were, they made everything taste strange, like you had bubbles in your mouth. It was not electric, it was rougher. It was spoken feeling as if words were dancing along your skin. It wasn't. It was for a sense that we don't have. The 5 we have didn't cut it.
And with this in your mind, surrounded by thunder and lightning and fire, I'd like you to make a sanity check in an attempt to keep your cool in this situation. And this is all part of Don making this worse. Okay. You will take, well, let me see. I'll make a roll. Nice little public roll for you all. 2 points of sanity loss.
Okay.
But you are considered afraid with that fail. And you can allow that to manifest in any way you want, but consider yourself hindered, and any test for the time being is going to be 1 step harder for you.
Okay.
Rhonda, what do you remember about the account of the school counselor who'd been faced with the flash of fire? How did you imagine it in your mind? What were the smells? What were the sensations? Do you empathically put yourself in their place? Do you watch a voyeur? Tell me about that.
Rhonda definitely sympathized with the counselor, having had that experience herself, being a counselor, not being witness to presumed and alleged pyrokinesis. There was something exceptionally chilling about the case. I was that school counselor. I was in his chair. I was with his students. His office looked like mine, but from years ago. Smaller, though. Everything looked smaller. And that he didn't remember or didn't want to remember was what struck me as most odd. I remember the placement of everything in my office the day I sat before Timothy Miller. I remember everything from the last day I saw him. Perhaps this wasn't an actual tangible incident that the counselor had. Perhaps it wasn't a tangible incident that the girl had either. Could this have been possession? A few years ago, I had read articles about exorcisms in Cottage City, but Cottage City to Boston would have been quite a ways for a demon to hitchhike without other sightings. That's what's most chilling to me about this case. Pyrokinesis. There's no way. But possession. That's something worth considering. That's what's most chilling.
The counter of possession is loss of possession. The string between Timothy and the pyrokinetic girl, they're both gone to you, lost to you. And now so is Betty. They don't know where she is, where she's gone. She was in this field, she was running, you saw her run. Now she's gone. And with this in your mind, with the people that disappear, with the things you can't explain, I'd like you to make a sanity check.
Success.
Things can be lost, but they can also be found. And you feel that steely determination within you you will find them. You will figure this out, because that is what you do. And unlike Chris, you will not be suffering from fear. But you can smell it, smoke. And as you look up ahead of you, you see the flickering of a light, a fire. Fire trying to combat rain. And Robert, you are dimly aware of it, but the tractor has caught fire. Gasoline that has been leaking from its tank has caught. And that strange figure had leant out of your line of sight, but is still there with you and is attempting now to drag you bodily away from the tractor. What do you do?
What's it got me by? An arm, a leg?
It's kind of got you under the upper arms, kind of dragging you backwards. Big, meaty hands under your upper arms.
Am I my front or my back?
You're on your back. You were looking up at the sky.
Yeah. I will grab it by reaching my arms up and grabbing its kind of upper arms. Trying to either pull myself up or pull it down. Basically, could end in a grapple, but this is just probably first reaction.
Okay, so I'm going to call this a brawl test.
Okay.
Which comes under fighting in your list. It's under F.
Oh, cool. I'm great at that. I am all right at that. Wow.
You are all right at that. So which would you prefer? Would you prefer to pull yourself up or to pull them down? Or both?
I'd prefer to pull myself up.
Okay. So yeah, we'll say that you achieve that. You pull yourself up, and you're approximately the same height as this person. It's dark and confusing. Your face is splattered with mud and crud from this field. And blinking through the heavy rain, you see a man's face staring at you. His features are just full of concern. Heavy trenches form a frown across his brow. His eyes continuously flicking up towards the sky and back at you.
Do I recognize this man?
I don't think so. I don't believe you have met this man before.
Okay, I'll pull myself away.
I will say you're fairly sensible, so why don't you make a just do an intelligence check. I think that's enough. Okay. Yeah. You make the connection. You believe this would be Ira Hobbs. Matches the description.
I will actually say quite loudly across the rain, Ira Hobbs!
You're gonna get us killed. Don't you see? Don't you see what's happening here? Don't you know? And he is panicking. He is physically shaking, and it's not just from the cold and the beating of the rain. And he's a burly man, but it's that kind of burly that's also very lean and underfed. So his arms, you can see the definition, but they're still fairly narrow, slightly too long for his body. And his clothing is just ruined, just wrecked, ripped, filthy.
At a glance across the way, maybe are we kind of by a street now? Or are we still in the field?
You are coming to the edge of this field.
Sure. Is there like street beyond it, or is there like just road, dirt track, something like that?
That would be the dirt track. You'd have to wander like a little way down and across, but that would be that dirt track which would lead down to the main road and the sheriff's station.
All right. I ask him, where are we going?
We gotta get out. We gotta get out of the weather. It's the same
Fine.
thing. It's the same thing.
Sheriff station, and I feel for my badge if I've still got it on me.
Okay. I'll say you can still have that on you if you'd like.
Yeah. Grab him by the lapel, flash the badge in front of his face, and say, "From the FBI, we're going to the sheriff's office."
And he is going to make a swing for you as his eyes widen and like rip through that heavy set brow. And you can make a dodge check in response if you would like. Okay. So he swings, and this is going to collide with the side of your head. It hurts quite a lot. We're going to say you take 1 harm from it. And it sets a ringing as it kind of hits like your ear, and there's that compressive effect. And he pulls himself free and starts running, but you see that he is skidding. He is struggling with this terrain as he heads towards, it's a line of trees that break up the edge of this field that lead down to that dirt track, and that's what he's braking for. He's going for the trees to get away from you, and he doesn't want to go towards the sheriff's station. So those are kind of his 2 options right now.
Sure.
While you brawl, Chris, Rhonda, you can see the smoke. The fire is growing on that tractor despite the heavy downpour. And it's just up ahead of you, 15 feet at the most. And you can see most of the way there because Robert did a real good job of smashing through the grass and the crop on the way.
Do we see any of the action with Robert and this man?
Make a spot hidden check. You may both do so if you'd like.
I see nothing.
I fail as well.
Okay, so the reason for this is probably it's bright, it's getting smoky with the fire, but it's also everywhere else is dark, is muddy, the rain, the weather is miserable. And so you have a feeling like that sixth sense of he's still up ahead somewhere, but you can't see him and you can't see Ira either.
I think Dr. Nash wants to continue pursuing and get to the captain.
But we can see Ira running off towards the...
You can't see Ira.
Okay. Yeah, then he would reluctantly, he's in the process of dealing with what's been happening, so he'd be basically following Rhonda, not necessarily going anywhere.
And Rhonda, are you running at full pelt, or are you kind of doing your best, or?
I'd say Rhonda's doing her best considering the muddiness of the terrain and just herself. And also making sure that Mr. Brubaker is firmly behind her. She's I think aware or would be aware of the state that he's in. So she's also just trying to stay connected with him.
Okay, then I would like you both to make one final dodge check for me for the scene. Well, as far as I know, a final one. Who knows? Success? A fail.
Super fail.
Is there anything you would like to do to stop that from being a fail, Greg?
Can I wish upon a star? I don't have any advantages left, unfortunately.
Can I use an advantage to help this situation? I don't know what he would be dodging.
If you would like to gift your advantage to Greg, I will allow that.
I would like to gift my advantage to Greg.
Oh, you're sweet, but this is not going to. Okay, I'll try it one more time. But remember, wait before Edelyn does that, I have to get a step harder, correct? No. Because of my not for this.
Oh wait, yes you do, because you were scared.
Right, so keep it. There's no way I'm hitting this. So
okay, all right.
I mean,
okay. Rhonda, your hand reaches out behind you as you try and keep Chris in a good position, try and stay upright. You manage to make it to the tractor. It's more open terrain here. It's easier to stay on your feet. You can see Robert up ahead. You can see the disappearing figure of Ira. But you lose concentration on Chris behind you. And Chris, you are struggling. In your head, every report you've ever read of trench warfare is playing. Every report of every mission you've ever worked on that's gone slightly wrong. Bases are loaded. Batter prepares. Pitcher gets the signal. Swing and a miss. As lightning tears down from the sky, hits again this tractor and arcs towards you. It blows you back off your feet. And you are gonna take, let's see, 3 harm. But I need you to make a luck roll. As you fall backwards into a soupy mess, and fire flares in front of you.
It's an extreme success.
You roll as the tractor erupts. Forces and pressure of boiling water and parts inside this vehicle tearing, ripping apart, fusing in places. And you roll and you find yourself hidden behind a curtain of crop, face down in the mud, hoping to live. You are going to maintain that scared effect, but you do not take any additional harm.
Thank you.
Just so chat know, because I didn't know if everyone watches Call of Cthulhu all of the time, what are your hit points if we go around? So if we start with Chris, where's Chris at currently?
Chris is a hardy lad, as he has 17 hit points, and he is at 13 right now.
Okay, so Chris isn't doing too badly. Captain Robert, how are you doing?
What the ever living, mate? What? Max 10, currently 5.
Okay, so you would be what Fori considers bloodied.
Yeah, all right. Pretty beaten up. I got a bloody nose. Maybe
got
limping
smashed
slightly.
upside the head.
Yeah.
Electricity ran through your body. And Rhonda, how are you doing?
Rhonda has a maximum of 9 and is currently at 8.
Okay. So that is a situation.
That arm in the bear trap thing really hit her hard.
pretty nasty. And so this is where we find ourselves in this muddy field in the dark as the storm is rumbling and swirling overhead. Ira is making his break for it through to the trees and to the world beyond. Chris has disappeared out of sight, rolling to avoid a possibly lethal explosion. And the world is rocked by that. And Rhonda, I would like you to make a luck check as well.
Where? Oh, I see it. Sorry.
Okay. The explosion is near to you. You don't take any harm, but for, we'll say, the next 2 to 3 minutes at least of narrative, you are completely deaf. You will auto-fail any listen check. And you will have hearing problems for the foreseeable future until you get some good medical treatment. And that is where we stand. Muddy Fields. Robert, you are up on deck. Ira is legging it.
I think a little unaware of his teammates backing him up. I think he's probably still in pursuit, but he's struggling. He is now the adrenaline is, well, I guess it's still pumping, but he's noticeably still just limping slightly from all the tumbling. And all he's trying to do is keep Ira in sight.
Okay, with that in mind, I'd like you to describe for me the fight over the Pacific. As you had complete control of your plane, your home domain, king of the skies, roaring through the engines, dulling everything else, your eyes out of that cockpit, staring, hunting, looking.
So there were the Japs right over the fleet. There were bombers coming in, and we just had to focus. You strafe, you head up, you come down on them from above as best you can, and you take out as many of the engines as you can. Then you push that P-51 up as fast as it can without stalling. Some of the guys, me, would stall. But stall on purpose. And we dive back over our backs, down towards the sea. And you get a better arc of fire on the engines that were rumbling away down below. In this upside down world, you could see the fleet a little bit further along, and then you could see the bombers just come into view, lining up. But looking across to my right-hand side, red first of all, and then the shape of it, this red orb hanging not so much in the sky in the distance, but it felt close. The depth perception didn't lie in my head. And it's tracking me. And the weirdest thing is that it feels so mundane. It's just there. There isn't a feeling. There isn't anything in the air. There isn't hairs on the back of your neck, nothing. And I'm just staring at it. As it somehow stares back at me. This kind of red orb off my right wing. So mundane, so distracting with the fact that actually I completely forgotten about the fight. But that's when the fight reminded me, and I got hit. One of the Japs must have caught the wing or something. And I'm not just in a stall now because I'm trying to be some ace asshole pilot, but now I'm in a dangerous dive and I'm heading towards the sea. And I'm screwdriving this plane over to try and get it to glide in. And then there's this second red orb on my left-hand side. And as the sea comes up towards me, the stick's not doing anything. But somehow, these guys next to me just pitch the plane up slightly into a glide as I am feet above the water. But they've guided me into the fleet. And the plane goes down right in the center of all of those ships.
I'd like you to make a dodge check, please.
All right. I am going to use K Hawkeye's advantage because, thank you, I needed that. And I'm going to use it. Man, I'm XPing into dodge next. Oh my god! Wait, that was a 49, I needed a 35.
That'll be 14 points of luck. Question is, are you feeling lucky?
He just doesn't want to be caught, does he? 14 points
No,
of
he
luck.
really doesn't want to be caught, but...
Oh, I get that.
I will tell you, you will succeed if you just make a success. This isn't a hard check. Or anything else.
Oh, yes, what do you reckon? I've got 42 luck. Do we want this guy or not? Yeah, alright. Don't feel like I'm gonna be around here for much longer. I'm gonna use my luck, so that's down to 28.
So this is what happens. As you are thinking and reliving that moment in the sky with the orbs, how normal they had seemed, you barely notice the explosion behind you. The sound means nothing, it's just more thunder in the night. And you are running, focused, keeping the engine going, trying to bring it in, get closer, line it up. You don't notice the drop off into the stream, but it doesn't matter to you. You push on your foot and you leap that gap, colliding, tackling Ira in this tree line. The water splashes against you as you both tumble to the ground, brawling and fighting until it goes silent. And he stops fighting. But before that happens, you hear him say, "I won't go back. You don't want me. You want the boy." And I won't do that in accent, just so it's nice and clear what is said. And as you straighten up and look in the dark, you see that his head has collided with the root of a tree and is now bleeding, and he is definitely unconscious. Rhonda, you jet through the dark. You are proceeding slightly more cautiously, and you have to wade through the stream. But luckily you keep your footing, and you reach Captain Dabrowski as he is straightening up, taking in the injury of Ira Hobbs. Chris, you are crouched low in the dark in the crops. And in the back of your mind, you hear a voice. "Hello? Are you here to help me?" Don't you hear me?
Yeah. And he looks at his cards. Yeah, I do.
And standing on the card next to the player is a woman, 16, 17, barely a woman, blonde hair, blue eyes, in a simple cotton dress. She's in color. The rest of the card is dull, desaturated in comparison. I tried to ask her for help, but I don't know if she heard me.
Well, what can I do?
I just want to go home.
Yeah.
Can you help me go home?
Yeah.
Strangers keep visiting and staring at me. I'm just so cold. I just want to go home.
What you do is you go home. You first, the second, third, you go home. First, second, third, you go home. I can help you. I can swing away. I can get you home. What do I gotta do?
I can't tell them who I am. I need you to find it out. You're good with names and numbers. I noticed. I've been watching.
I need a hint. I need a... Give me a sign. The third base coach. Give you a sign.
He said he'd never seen me before, but he has. And I don't think he meant it, but he found me and then took me somewhere else. I don't know how he did that. And now, I don't know who I am or where I'm going. They're gonna put me in a hole in the ground and everyone's gonna forget about me.
I won't forget about you. I'll get you home.
You know,
Get you home.
she follows you too. and there's a flash of lightning in the background, but there's no thunder, just that brightness. And the card returns to its normal display of athlete and statistics.
I get you home. He goes running through the field in what he hopes is the direction of his friends.
And it's not too hard to see them. You are not that far from them. There is the small ditch with the stream, and they are there in the tree line, standing over an unconscious Ira Hobbs. You are all reunited in the dark.
He subtlety is gone out the window. As soon as he sees Rhonda and the captain, he just says, he lied, he knows who she is, he knows who she's gonna put her in the ground. He's gonna put her in the ground. They're gonna forget about her. Gotta get her home. We gotta get her home.
Chris, who?
Her. The eyes. We gotta get her home, Captain.
Charlie, is Chris talking loud enough that Dr. Nash can hear this?
You are right there. All three are together now.
Chris, you need to
I see
calm.
the hearing thing.
Chris,
No,
Chris.
you can just see Chris freaking out, and there's like a very distant sound, but lip reading, you could probably make out a couple of words, but he's fast, he's frantic.
Could she maybe offer her hands to him as a gesture to try and comfort and calm him?
He would take one, but the other one, he's clutching his cards.
Okay, and she just strokes Chris's hand and tries to kind of rhythmically slow him.
He looks at Rhonda and then he looks at the captain. He lied.
Who? Ira?
They took her somewhere after they found her. They're gonna put her in a hole.
We talking about Jane?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3. First, second, third. Gotta get her home.
I mean, she's dead, Chris.
Oh, no. She is if we don't get her home.
Hey, I gotta be honest, buddy. We do not have time for this. He could be knocked out, concussion, whatever. We've got to get him to a clinic, something in this town, okay? We've got to get him to the doctor. We've got to get him seen. We've got to get him secure, and we've got to interrogate him, all right?
Rhonda sees Captain Dabrowski gesturing towards Ira on the ground and passes Chris's hand to the captain, and then goes and kneels by Ira, and perhaps she could see if she could administer some medical attention.
Yeah, when you make a medical check for me.
Never mind. She's gonna try, though. She's gonna try really hard.
It's not so much that you don't have the knowledge, it's just you are literally drenched from head to foot, covered in filth. So is this guy down in the ground in front of you. The storm itself, the lightning and the thunder seem to be moving on, but the rain is still just cascading from the sky. And it's just hard to do very much at all. And head wounds just bleed and bleed and bleed. It's really hard to see what's going on there. So even though you can't really attempt to do very much with it, you know, like, you could probably get him out of here and move safely. You're not going to further injure any neck injury or anything like that. So even though you failed your medical, you would know that you could get this guy out of here and treat him somewhere else.
And so she turns back to the captain and Chris and communicates that we've got to go. And she's just kind of struggling because she can't hear herself. Her volume is questionable right now. We've got to get him out now.
shout at Rhonda, I'm gonna get the car, and then head
Greg,
off.
I'm going to offer you a choice. I can answer your question, but it's going to cost you a sanity roll.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so make me the roll.
Fail.
Okay. So you're going to lose 6 points of sanity,
Good.
and you are going to catch sight of that card, and for the briefest of moments you see a face on that card. It is not the sheriff's. It is someone younger. And you all make your way back to the road. Your car is a good 2 miles probably up the road from here. It's probably closer for you to walk into town carrying this guy. You are in rough shape, but you're not that far from town. You've come so far across this field. The sheriff's office, you can already see the lights are out and it is locked up. There's no sign of the sheriff's car having returned, nor Maggie or the sheriff. There is across the street the bar, which is open. And that would be probably your nearest shelter, unless you wanted to walk to the Eastling farm to see if there are any other businesses along this road that are open. That is your nearest open building option. Unless you want to break into the sheriff's station, which I won't stop you from trying.
I mean, I'd vote for the bar team. I think just go straight in there.
Perhaps we could call the sheriff from the bar. I would assume the neighboring bar would have the sheriff's number.
Yeah. They've probably got a back room. Let's go inside. Try and find out what's going on.
You go into the bar, and it's there's a group of men kind of sat around. A barmaid is keeping them topped up. She frowns seeing you wave the badge, and a few people look kind of nervous and draw in on themselves. But you are able to arrange to use a back room, and she offers to try and call the vet to come and help deal with your medical situation. She says the nearest doctor is like a couple of towns away. The vet's this town, so that's her best kind of option. That's who she calls when there's a bar fight. That's the kind of explanation you're given. It's up to you if you want to accept that or you just deal with yourselves.
Yeah, I mean, in the meantime, I've got some first aid, knowledge. Edlin, I don't know about you, or Greg, but I could try something. Just get him stable, at least.
I could throw down 2, maybe with an advantage. I've got them. I want to spend them now.
Yeah, do it.
Nope.
You could spend 11 points, of luck to make that first aid roll a success, if you'd like.
How many you got left?
35.
All right.
We're spending so
Sure,
much.
let's do it. We're playing fast and loose today.
Right.
Come on.
So with a success, you are able to get cleaned up, changed to staunch the bleeding. Ira is very in and out, and now that you're in kind of closer proximity, you can already smell the alcohol. And inspecting him closer, in his pocket there is a smashed small bottle of some kind of alcohol. You can see small parts of it are kind of digging into his flesh, probably the result of being tackled or some of the brawling, or maybe he slipped and fell on it earlier in the night. It's hard to tell, but it's destroyed and he's covered. He is in and out of consciousness. You can't quite get him fully stable, but you know he's not going to die. And it's more than likely he will recover. Chris, what are you up to as you come into the back room of this bar?
Chris would not... This is across the street from the police station, correct?
Yep.
Chris doesn't go to the bar. He goes to the police station and he begins looking into around the area where people would park to see if there are any cars present, if there is a back way in. He is looking to see He's looking to see if he can find Zachary.
Okay. So you don't see any vehicles here, but there is a bike leaning against the back of this building. There is also a back door, which from your mind, being what it is, you know this leads into the corridor that has the cells on one side and that icebox room on the other. The door is fairly secure looking, but it is still just a door. It's not a metal door or a hyper security door. So there are chances that you could break in through this door if you'd like. There are also windows around the back, and windows are much easier to break than doors. Just to give you all of the options you could scope out.
He is going to peek in a window, if that's okay. Like, he's going to try to, like, make his way around and get a visual, a layout inside if he can.
Okay, so there is a large window which would be around the back of the reception area. It's behind the desk at which you'd first met Zachary sitting. That's one of the larger windows. Moving along, there is a small screen-covered window, only a little above ground height, as this building is kind of built on a hill of some description, and the ice room is actually sunk into the ground to keep it cooler. Help out, and so it's very likely to be that one. And then if you continue around, there is more secure windows, which would be on the cell side. They don't open into the cells, but they open into that area of the building. Those are the most secure of the windows.
He's going to look at the one that, as far as he can remember the layout, would be the closest to the cold room where she was kept. So he's going to try to go there first and work backwards to see if he can see if the door's open or if there's activity or lights or anything.
So you crouch down to this window. It's one of those little square windows with a dense screen in front of it. The corner of the screen is actually peeled back. And it's obviously been kind of played with by someone or something. And if you were to lift that screen, you could look into this room more clearly. As it stands, it's dark in there. And that's the most you can make out.
Am I still at a step-up disadvantage to anything I try to do?
No, I would say you've gotten control of yourself as you've found purpose and drive. So I will remove that fear.
He's going to try to lift the screen then.
Okay. You pull back the screen and stare into the dark, cold room. I would like you to make a spot hidden check.
I'd love to. Yeah, that's a fail, but I did get an advantage. Can I use it post-haste, or do you want me to call it before?
Okay. That's fine, I'll let you use it.
My God,
because if you use it now, you don't have it later.
That's right. Just a success.
Okay. On a success, for a moment, it's a dark and still room. You squint, and you can see the door on the other side, the door that you've been in through. And then you come forward towards yourself, and you see the table. You see the dark shape of the body still laying there. And then you ease back that screen as far as it's gonna go, and you peer to the side. There is someone in that room.
Chris is gonna quietly pull out his Ty Cobb baseball card, and he's gonna stick it as if facing inwards, the picture and the representation of the player facing into the room. And he doesn't even verbalize it. It's just no louder than an exhalation of his own breath. Watch. And then he leaves the card, steps back, and moves to try to get the others.
Okay. So you leave the card there. Is this you using your truth in one of its forms?
Yes.
Okay. Good to know. For anyone wondering, we are not using Cthulhu mythos as a factor in our game. We have what is called the truth. And there are penalties for knowing such a thing, but also benefits, which come in the form of slightly modified spells, which is what you're seeing here with Chris. Across the street, Robert, Rhonda, the barmaid has returned, and Rhonda, you have been given one of her spare uniforms. Luckily, she has a locker here, and it's a simple red cotton dress with a white apron that's sewn to it. And so she is loaning you that. And Robert, for your part, she has a spare jacket. She doesn't have any spare men's clothes. She does offer you one brown leather shoe, which she tries. I have no idea how I ended up with this, but one brown leather shoe. The vet has been called, and she says that they'll be here as soon as they can. But it's a rough night. And she has to go back out. She's the only one currently working in the bar, so she has to kind of flit in and out between you and the patrons.
Yeah, we'll be fine here, thank you.
Appreciate your hospitality.
It's all right. Welcome. Y'all need a drink?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
I would like you both to make a Constitution roll at this point. All right. Robert, you have been drenched. You've suffered significant injuries in your collisions and brawling in the dark. You are beginning to feel quite under the weather, a little bit lightheaded, a little bit fevery almost. So just bear that in mind going forward. This will probably affect physical abilities at this stage. Currently no mental fever problems. Rhonda, for your part, you're feeling fine. A drink probably would help, but you're focused on tending to things, checking out Robert even, who obviously has physical signs of his injuries. A nice bruise, a swelling kind of up on that high jawbone. And Chris returns to you both.
With a confidence that you probably haven't seen in Chris ever, he stalks up to both of you. He's there.
Who's there?
Who, buddy?
He's not gonna let her go home.
Mr. Brubaker, who did you see?
You've got to be making more sense.
Zachary.
Boy.
He lied. He knew her. He's gonna put her in a hole. He's gonna put her in a hole if we don't do something. Now.
All right.
Ty's watching him. Ty's watching. He ain't gonna leave. Ty's got him.
Ty?
He's tied up. He's still working on stuff. We can catch him if we hurry now.
Oh, this guy. Hang on. And Robert will kind of sway out of the back office into the bar, slam his hand down on the counter, try and get the bartender.
She jumps. She kind of hadn't been expecting it, and she hurries over. Something happened?
And you lock that door from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're going to come out, but we're leaving the guy in there. I want you to lock the door on the outside.
Is he dangerous?
I don't really think so. I mean, by all means, let the vet see him, but he's to stay here.
You see her lean forward, and under the bar, you hear the unmistakable sound of a gun being cocked. And then she reappears, gets her rag, kind of wipes down the bar. All right, and comes out, locks the door once you are all clear.
All right, let's go.
All right.
Leading, buddy. I don't know where we're going.
And he's gonna run, and it's not the run of someone being quiet, it's the run of somebody stealing third.
Okay, where exactly on with the building are you running to?
He's taking him back to the grate, the screen.
Going around to the back. Okay. So you get taken to this tiny little window. Robert, you never went in the cold room. You don't really know the layout of the building too well. So it's hard for you to imagine what is beyond this screen. Rhonda, you know it. You remember. And you both see, and Chris indicates for you, this is the window. This is where he's seen what he's seen. What would you both like to do?
I want to look.
Okay. Crouching down, lowish to the ground, peeling back that screen. Make a spot hidden for me. Rhonda, for your hearing, it's still in and out, and there's this ringing, this constant tinnitus pitch that sometimes you forget it's there, and then you focus and it comes back clear and strong. And as you peel back the screen and you peer into the dark, it's hard to make out much at all. You see there's the body on the slab, and it's dark, and then that pitch, it really kicks in and distracts you.
I really don't know what I'm looking for here, Mr. Brubaker.
He's in there. He's in there with her.
Is this, Charlie, is this like screen window we can just open it and get in?
No, this is like a nailed screen over this window.
Right, okay.
It wouldn't be too hard for you to like rip it off and probably get rid of the glass. This is a relatively small hole though.
Yeah.
So I don't believe Chris could fit through this window. Because Chris is fairly large as a gentleman. Rhonda, I think, might be able to, if I remember her size stats correctly. But you are probably better off looking for a larger window if you want to go in through a window.
I think for the record too, Rhonda would certainly be willing to try, but at this point, she just doesn't understand even what we're looking for in there, and what Chris has seen.
Okay, Robert, would you like to take a look at what is in this room?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, it's the same thing.
Hard 19.
Hard. All right, so you come in. Your eyes have adjusted well to the dark, and you focus in. You see the door, you see the body on the slab, although it's hard to make out too much of the features, save for that bright blonde hair, which is kind of laid out in a halo around the top of her head. And you see also the figure of Zachary. He is standing close to her, his fingers playing with the ends of her hair on one side. And you see his shoulders shaking a little, and you believe he's probably crying. And I will let you make a listen check. On a listen, you can't make out the exact words as such, but he's definitely talking to her. It's a hush sound. And it reminds you of the times when you've heard Bobby Jr. crying to Dorothy, complaining about something in the next room. It's that kind of sad, huffy sound, and then the words that stutter out. Okay, what would everyone like to do?
I'm kind of taking a back step on this one. I don't have all the info, so he's I think he's talking to her. It's kind of like playing with her hair and stuff. It's very strange.
Gotta get in there. Captain, we gotta get in there.
How are we getting in there?
His bike. And he runs over to where the bike is and checks the door closest to the bike to see if it's unlocked.
It appears to be locked, but the kind of latch that as you gently move that door, it's probably on a latch. It's not a true key in the lock type lock. It's just a little flimsy latch holding this thing shut.
Chris is gonna kick it.
All right, make me that aggression check. What would you like to use? I'll take a strength. I'll take a brawl.
How about a size? Can I use my size? Just like him throwing his whole body into it? Or just like stomping?
Yep. Give me a size check.
That's a hard success.
Alright, you kick it and the door crumples. Just... It's almost as if there was no door there to begin with, really. Just... And there's a gust of wind that just pushes through and into this building. You stride an ominous presence. Rhonda, you hear the bang. It's crisp and it's large and it kind of hurts, but that door is decimated.
And Rhonda runs over to the side of the building where Chris had knocked in the door.
Yeah, I'd follow too.
Okay, Chris, you are leading the way.
I believe from our narrative description of the police office before, there was a rack of weaponry. There were shotguns that were right off of the main area, like when we went back into the back towards the...
Yeah, there's like a little armory section behind a cage.
He would, as he would walk by, he would grab one of the shotguns and check to see if it was loaded as he just continues to stride.
The gun is not loaded, but there is ammo nearby that would not take you long to find. That, for the sake of brevity, I will say you can find.
Yeah, he just grabs 2 shells.
It's almost like a sixth sense. You know where you would have put it, and you just go straight there, load it.
I grab a pistol, be cheeky. It's all right.
Yep.
Yeah, Dr. Nash thinks that considering the circumstances, we don't need more than 2 guns. So she'll just pass that up.
All right. And Chris, are you leading the way to the cold room?
He would go towards the cold room until he got to the door and then kind of saddle up on the outside. He doesn't know what he's doing. He was a signal breaker. He was a code breaker in the war. He's but he's upset, and this is all he can think to do. And this is more a drawback to his youth than it is this time in the war, seeing a shotgun and seeing violence. But when he gets there, he kind of saddles up to the side of the door leading into the cold room where he believes Zachary is, and he looks at the other 2. And at that point, they could see that he doesn't know really what he's doing.
For the very first time in his charge, all the way through filling the gun with ammo, to this point, Chris hesitates. Rhonda, Robert, what do you do?
Dr. Nash would put a hand on Chris's shoulder and slowly take the shotgun. Say, it's all right. It's all right, Mr. Brubaker. You done real good. Let the captain and me take it from here.
He would hand over the shotgun, but he would present it almost like with the butt first. Choke up, Doc, and swing away. We gotta get her home.
You got it.
Okay. At this point, I'm going to ask you if there are any special actions you believe your characters would take in the apprehension of Zachary. You'll be able to go into this room and get a hold of him. It's just up to you if you take any additional actions, depending on your attitude towards him, and obviously our Jane Doe.
I don't think so. I'm just looking at apprehending him and talking to him, really.
Okay. So you can collar him. He's a mess. And he doesn't resist so much as he just doesn't know what to do with himself, and it's fairly easy for you to drag him out of this room, although he is loath to leave Eve, as he keeps calling her. And you get him outside, and in the shadowy entranceway of the sheriff's department, you may interrogate him. And the way we're going to do this is you may each ask a question, much in the same way as we did in the beginning. You can frame this either as a role play in character question, or you can just give me your meta bottom line, and I will answer it on behalf of Zachary.
Rhonda asks, Zachary, how long have you known Eve?
And it takes him a little while, but he answers that he's known her a few weeks since her husband brought her to town. He's a minor, and he'd been trying to help, but Zachary's uncle, the sheriff, had told him to stay out of it. It wasn't any of Zachary's business. But Zachary thinks she's an angel, and he was just trying to help. Robert, do you have a question at this point?
Like a literal angel?
Zachary reflects that it sounds ridiculous, but there's a lot of things in Muddy that he's never been able to explain. The electric always seems to cut out on him. But when he was with Eve for the first time, he felt better. He felt like there were good things, even here in Muddy. And he doesn't know how else to explain it, but he's certain that that's what she is. She's not from here. Chris.
Chris didn't go with everybody else to interrogate Zachary. He stays with Eve.
Okay. Do you have a question for Eve?
He does. And as he kneels down, he whispers into her ear, "How do I get you home?" And he looks up through the window, past Ty Cobb, into the sky. How do I get you home?
And it's not upsetting for you when you don't hear her words, when she doesn't speak to you. You know that somewhere in the code there is the answer, and she will wait for you to figure it out. That you found her here, and that's enough. And there's a strange sense of rest in this room. A body should be disconcerting to a lot of people, but this is almost like seeing someone napping. That blissful, innocent, quiet time. And as you look out, up at the sky, the rain has eased, and it's just the occasional fat drop that falls down in front of the screen, and you push to reach the sky. You see the clouds move, and you see a star, and it shoots across and out of sight. Back with Zachary. I'm going to allow you both a final question each, as if the rest of the team were here, they would get questions. Greg, if you do want to contribute as, you know, on behalf of Susie or as on behalf of Virginia, you're welcome to.
I would just say the or the husband. Info on him.
Okay, so Zachary will tell you that he works at the earthworks, and he's a mean old man, and that his name is Michael Shanks, and that he's deeply upset that he never came to find Eve. What kind of husband would do that? What kind of husband doesn't care? because he says that Michael knows she's here. And then he says maybe he didn't come because he's the one that did it.
Did what?
He's the one that killed her. Maybe not then and there, but he's the one that ended up getting her killed. And he'll explain to you that he found Eve running for her life along the road out of the earthworks, that he just wanted to help. But he'd seen Michael coming after her, and he was too scared to physically intervene. And then it had happened. The storm, the tiny storm. And he'd wished her somewhere safe, somewhere far away. He pauses for a moment, and with a watery smile, he says, it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz. She wasn't in Kansas anymore. I took her somewhere better, but I didn't know where I'd taken her. And then he describes how he'd spent the night trying to find where he'd sent her. And he doesn't know how he did it. And then he describes how Florence Eastling had called in and said about the body, and he'd gotten scared because they said that she'd been found at the side of the road and dropped, that someone had seen the storm. And so he'd claimed not to know anything, because what could he do anyway? And you get the impression this is someone very scared, doesn't really understand what happened any more than you can probably put together what happened. And he says how he found the 1914 case. And he says, Angel's been visiting Muddy a long time, I guess. I don't know what that means, though. And he comes now to an emotional point of numbness. He's got no tears left. He's got nothing emotionally to tell you. He's just drained. And his shoulders slump, and did I murder her then? Is that it? And he looks up to Rhonda. You're a doctor, right? Doctor and an agent. Does that make me guilty?
Well, it's not for us to decide. It will be decided, but not by us three. Can you tell us anything that might free you of these charges? Anything, an alibi? Did you take her ring off her finger?
He frowns and seems to be just trying to decide what to tell you about that. When you hear the sound of a vehicle pulling up outside, the sound of people exiting and coming in a hurry, and into the entranceway, Sheriff Leary, Maggie, and another woman have arrived. And they seem surprised to see you there. They had not expected you in here, as they'd unlocked the front door and come in that way. And Zachary looks fearful and clams up, really just goes quiet.
Sheriff.
Evening. Going on with Zachary?
We might want to take this to the side.
He frowns and he says, all right. And then you see Haley, who is much younger than the sheriff. She's got dark, long hair, which is tied back. You can see it's soaked through, as is the rest of her clothing. I ain't got time for that. We need to find this Mr. Shanks. It's our husband. It took me all day to find that damn piece of information out, but got there eventually. And Maggie hurriedly explains to you that Haley, unbeknownst to her husband, had gone down to the earthworks in a last-ditch attempt to find out who Jane Doe was, not wanting this woman to be buried without a marker, without a name.
So basically, I'll kind of relay to the sheriff what Zachary's been saying to us.
Mm-hmm.
My impression of it, correct me if I'm wrong, is that he basically he wished a lightning bolt on her and it zapped her up.
That's pretty a fair impression for Robert to have a voice in,
Right.
yes.
Okay, cool.
And the sheriff takes off his hat and he kind of wipes his brow and he shakes off the raindrops and he looks at you like you've lost your mind. I heard a wishing on a star. I've never heard a wishing on a lightning bolt. So some kind of crazy y'all are bringing in from Boston, was it?
Chicago.
Chicago, then.
Sheriff, we're finding that there's bits of crazy all over this country. Muddy is no exception. Sometimes we have to suspend our realm of understanding and see past the obvious.
Let me make a persuasion or a charm roll for me. He rolls his eyes so hard you wonder if they'll ever come back the right way around. And he moves back and he grabs Zachary kind of by the ear almost and kind of pulls him towards the door. He says, "Get home, I'll talk to you later. Clear this mess up." And he's looking around at his floor. It's filthy in here. Y'all just treading country all over my place. What do you want me to do with this information?
Well, unfortunately, I think that it might be time to investigate your nephew. Whether or not he's responsible for Jane Doe's demise, he certainly has some involvement in the story.
Talking to Michael Shanks.
Well, if you can find him, you can talk to him. That's what I'm intending on doing. Zachary was home with me that night. And you are all very openly know that is probably a lie. But you can see on his face that he is digging in, and it's a lie that he is going to stand by. And at this point, again, because we're nearly at the end of our game today, we will say that Michael Shanks is definitely going to be investigated, and you have the impression that he is probably going to be in some way charged for the death of this woman. You have identified who this woman is, and some of the details of this case. So the choice that you have is regarding Zachary. He is sent back to the sheriff's house. If you want to apprehend him, arrest him, remove him from this town, you're going to have to do it quickly and probably without the sheriff's permission. Or you can write your reports, move on to the next case.
I know I didn't do it in the scene. Is it possible that Rhonda may have had some insight as to whether or not Zachary was telling the truth about the situation?
Why don't you make a psychology roll for me?
Extreme.
He believed every word he told you. That he somehow controlled this weather, and that it was the weather that moved her. And wherever it moved her, it somehow killed her. You also believe he was telling the truth when he wasn't sure if he was guilty or if Michael was guilty. But that he was devastated this woman was dead, and that he'd hidden what he'd known because he felt he wouldn't be believed, and also because he was scared of it. And you will remember that first day when Betty had asked him about tornadoes, and he'd kind of non-committally said he couldn't recall anything, but had been very uneasy at the subject of storms. But at the time, he'd just been a boy who hadn't known what a Jane Doe was, so how much attention could you have paid?
Mm.
Unfortunately, Maggie, the player, is not here to tell me what as case lead she decides. So I do need the three of you to make that decision.
I say we leave him.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay.
We leave him in the pattern. Is there any way to not necessarily tail him, but keep eyes on him? A lot of people have a good relationship with Mrs. Eastling. She might be somebody that we could contact to see if she could explain how old Zachary's doing.
I really like this idea. So you are going to set up Florence Eastling as a contact to check in here with Muddy and Zachary in particular. You can also, obviously, in your report, make a note for observation, and that can probably be arranged at a later date.
Can we also take the body?
I will say that since the FBI technically has jurisdiction on this case, since you have the case in the file, that you could seize that body. It's going to cause a ball ache for someone and a lot of trouble for you and your reputation as FBI agents who come in and interfere with local law. But yes, you can seize that body if you would like to.
Well, Chris isn't going to, promote that as much as he's still concerned that there was the warning that they were going to be put in the ground and not able to go home. And that's what he's concerned with. And he would share that with the others, that there was a warning.
And when Chris shares that, Rhonda would want to kind of dig a little deeper into it. Maybe ask when he was back in the ice room if he had heard any more voices, if he had had any more warnings.
How about Greg? I will let you make a truth roll. At no cost. Just make a truth roll. See if you figure out what happened.
I'm all about that then. It's been a tough day. Ooh, a success.
All right. You believe that because she specifically commented on being put in the ground, that if she was put to rest in another fashion that doesn't involve being buried, that may fulfill her need to go home. There's a part of you that thinks home may be a geographical place, but there's that part of you deep in the truth that knows it's somewhere else.
He would see if he could find like a mausoleum, some, above ground, if that would be a compromise that could be reached with the permission of everybody else. That's what Chris would push for.
I just thought Charlie was speaking cremation could be the thing.
That's another option.
And Dr. Nash would be fine with either of those options.
I think I'll leave it up to you there, buddy.
Chris would probably lean for the mausoleum thing.
All right.
If
Maggie won't understand it, and she's going to get in trouble with the budget people, but she will help you make those arrangements. And you will know the address of this mausoleum should you ever wish to visit Eve.
As she's being, if they're still there while she is being prepped and sealed into what is like that, the
transport.
He's going to slip one of his cards in with her.
Oh, at the actual mausoleum itself?
Inside wherever she would be. He's going to slip Ty Cobb in with her.
I like the idea that you guys go with the body and you see it laid to rest fully in this mausoleum, and you can put Ty in. All right. And with that, we leave Muddy. Possibly with some inconclusive question marks surrounding the events here. But you do have the reassuring knowledge that you managed to get the girl identified. you have the knowledge that you uncovered the possible perpetrator of anything paranormal. You don't entirely know the relationship of Ira to this story, but you are satisfied with him simply being a witness to this freak storm that deposited the girl in the road. And as you leave Muddy, Rhonda is given a message. The Circle Motel has received a call for you, and they left a message. And the message is simply an address and a name. The address is unfamiliar to you, but the name, instantly recognizable. Timothy Miller.
And Rhonda will share with the rest of the team. Is the address nearby? Like city-wise, would she know?
It's not like super nearby. It's in Massachusetts, so it's a little way away from you.
Okay.
So you would probably need to drive, take a train, something in that direction. And it's
Could
the
she
opposite
possibly?
direction.
Could she sway the team to take cases on the route to the address? So we would be heading that way.
Robert, I'm going to allow you to make the decision if you are going to be our next case lead.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
All right, so without Betty, it takes Robert and Maggie and Rhonda a little while to resort through the files and to reconfigure your route, pushing back east instead of west. And eventually, you complete a couple more cases along the way, which I will give you some details of. And Rhonda, you are taken to the address in Massachusetts. And the team gets a call. And there is an urgent case for you. And Rhonda, we will say that you end up staying in Massachusetts, following your lead with Timothy Miller, while the rest of the team move on. The only problem is not the whole team gets to move on. You never did find Betty in the dark.
I wanted to do something if I could.
Mm-hmm.
Before they left Muddy, Chris would go back to the site in the field, and using some of the stone that was lining the drainage ditch that he had found the cross tie in, he is going to spell in that flattened area of the field, "I know."
Okay. And that is where we will leave it. Messages in muddy fields and the group having to move on as the weird things keep piling up at their door. A final question for the group. Rhonda, how do you feel about leaving Betty behind? About having no idea where she is? If she is still alive anywhere.
Right. Rhonda's really torn. She's dealt a lot, has a lot of history and associated trauma with losing people. And so to have to move on before finding someone who's such a trusted member of our group is something that's really hard for her to reconcile. But I assume we looked, everywhere we possibly could before we left. And so who's to say she's not in Massachusetts? We had to get on the road.
And Haley would have helped you make phone calls to local towns and things in case, she did a disappearing, reappearing act like you suspect Eve did. But there's no trace, no sign. The only reason Betty even existed at all is the suitcases that are in her room. The small locket at the side of her bed. She always wore that, though. And yeah, it's there. Robert, how did you feel leaving Betty behind?
It never gets easier, but he's used to have lost a few friends in the war, squadron mates and stuff. And you're right, it's like suddenly they're just not there anymore. And it's kind of gut-wrenching, but labour the metaphor from earlier, but again, it's quite strangely mundane. Just like they're just gone again.
And Greg, how's Chris doing?
Chris does not believe that Betty is gone. He believes that she's gone ahead. And unlike he didn't do, or like he didn't do when they pulled into the motel, he would make sure that he carries Betty's bags out to the car and puts them in the trunk.
Okay. Do you, I'm going to say that Rhonda ends up riding with Maggie in the sedan for the trip east, and Robert and Chris, you're going to be in the Storm Chaser vehicle. And that's where we're going to leave. Mm-hmm. Sorry, go ahead.
Can Rhonda have taken Betty's locket out of the hotel room?
Yes. Okay. That's where we're going to leave today. I'm going to give you all 10 points to assign to anything you like, with the exception of sanity and luck. This is from the skill list, not the abilities, obviously.
Dodge all the way.
So yeah, put those wherever you like. Oh, and no truth, Greg. No truth.
I know. I was laughing at the dodge roll.
Awesome. Thank you so much to chat for joining us today. If you are watching on the YouTubes, you can find us here on Sundays at 4 p.m. Eastern on Tales from the Grim. And we will be back next week when we are joined by special guest Mal Hidale with a new character and some new shenanigans. Thank you to my castmates for joining me today and for letting me put them through a stormy, muddy field. And for following through on an adventure which maybe wasn't entirely as explained as they would like. But that is the nature of this game. You may not always get all of the answers. Oof, that explosion is coming for me. No idea what that sound was, but the mics are still working. And so I'd like to go around, check in with everyone, make sure you're all firstly doing okay today. Give me a thumbs up. If we need to follow up with anything, I will be on the DMs as usual. Secondly, I would like to ask you, what is your favorite moment of today? Where can we find you on the internet? What exciting things do you have coming up? And all of that good stuff. And I'm going to start with the wonderful Dr. Rhonda Nash, played by Edelyn.
Thank you. You caught me thinking about my favorite moments from today. I loved our little individual scenes. Specifically, shout out to Sam. I thought that your description, seriously, I'm like, whoa, this description of your plane and the war and everything. I thought that was really captivating. And Greg, I'm loving what you're doing with your baseball cards. It warms my heart. So I think I just like playing with you all. Is that okay? That's cool, right? So I am Edelyn Parker, at Edelyn Parker on Twitter. Soon to be Edelyn Parker Fry, which is why I won't be here next week. Thanks, guys. I am marrying my best friend, Donathan Fry, and I'm so looking forward to it. And then the following week, where I'm going to be off as well, we've got Origins in Columbus, Ohio. So if any of you are traveling to our town, Columbus, Ohio, for Origins, make sure to hit us up on Twitter. Let us know you're going to be here. But thank you all very much, and I'll be seeing you in 2 weeks.
Whoop, whoop. Thank you so much. And I would like to just tell chat, none of these guys were warned I was going to give them questions and make them describe things, but they all just knocked it out of the park, and this is why I love playing with these people. So, speaking of knocking things out of the park, actually that's a better segue for Greg. Speaking of unidentified flying objects like the Segway, Captain Robert Dabrowski.
What is that? Yeah. I mean, props back to you, Edelyn. Like, when you did your flashback thing, I thought you were reading off a thing, and then I couldn't see your eyes reading off a thing, and I was like, this is just voice acting. This is awesome. I was just listening to a little radio play. It was great. That was amazing. Apart from that, my favorite moments were every single dice roll I rolled today were all awful, apart from maybe a couple. Thanks for all those dodge rolls. They were great. I plugged 5 points into dodge just now because of you.
You're welcome.
Otherwise, you can find me around the internet at RPG Webby and at blackcatsgaming.com. We are publishing a 5e powered action and espionage RPG set in the modern day called The Spy Game, all about international espionage and intrigue, and it should be on Kickstarter real soon. There should be lots of news coming up over the next month all about that, so check us out at blackcatsgaming.com for that. Otherwise, we're playing After the Fire, which is a Game of Thrones game set about 100 years before the actual like novels and stuff, on a Thursday night, 9 p.m. UK time, 4 p.m. Eastern, with Charlie, Susie, Virginia, and a couple other people.
Don and Tom and Jason.
Yeah, I know, I was joking. And it's a really fun game. You don't need to know much about Game of Thrones to join us. We've got a wiki on our house, and it's all medieval political intrigue and the rules of succession.
And ladies and
inheritance.
Drugs and rock and roll. On the subject of radio, actually, I do want to shout out Matt, who did the wonderful recording for our radio today. This is part of Matt's NPC donation from a few weeks ago, and we will be hearing more from the wonderful preacher man, who has personal messages, I think, for everyone. So listen closely.
That was so awesome. So awesome. Love that.
Spooky AF.
All right, back to knocking it out of the park, reusing a good one. Greg, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing very well. Unlike poor Chris, who's losing his mind, whatever he had of it, very, very quickly. I had a blast. I thought everything was awesome today. I think the part that really kind of resonated with me was when Dr. Rhonda was struck deaf, and like that added element of terror. Like if you had a camera view and you heard the muffled mic, like that added to an already ridiculously tense situation for me. And I enjoyed it quite a bit. Fantastic job with the story, Charlie. Grimjack21502 on the Twitter, Tales from the Grim on the Twitch. Follow us for fun. Be back here next week for tense. Back to you.
Final plug from me. I'm at Fresh and Fire on the Twitters. I play in a lot of games, a lot of wonderful people, including this one. If you would like to play with us, we have one guest slot left. You can find out the details of that down below. And the care package for Rhonda was actually the clue about Timothy. So we will be seeing how that unfurls. I'm sure Edelyn will be very grateful to that as we delve into a little bit of her backstory at some point very soon. That is all from me. Please keep hanging out on Tales from the Grim. They have incredible content here, including Bad Moon Rising on Mondays. May Black Roses Bloom is on a break this week because someone's getting married. But we will be back with Ravenloft and Dragonlance goodness very soon, as well as all the other great games that Greg throws up here, including one-shots, indie RPGs, and more. So with that said, Greg.
Well, everybody, make sure you go and get a stiff drink, because Muddy definitely took a little bit out of me. But as the campfire goes down, there's only one thing left to say. You can't always roll nat 20s, but you can always roll play. We'll see you later, Legion.